All right, our last lesson on factoring by distribution, we are going to learn a different method of factoring in our next lessons, but this one is pretty cool as well. Don't make this hard. Think about the rule. Think about what you're doing. It's called, well, let's look at these examples. Sorry. We'll talk about what it's called in a minute when we get to it. So, 3 times 0 equals 0. 0 times 2 minus 4, let's see, 2 minus 4 is, let's see, negative 2. So 0 times negative 2 is 0. Okay, negative 312 times 0 is 0. Does it matter where the 0 is, behind the number or in front of the number? No. Does it matter that there's a problem inside it? We need to do that first because of order of operations, but still 0, right? So 0 times this is 0. Yeah. So that is called the zero product property. In other words, 0 multiplied by, because product is the result of a multiplication problem, and then just a rule or a property. So we call our rules properties in algebra. So it's the zero product property. If you multiply by 0, the answer is 0. Keep that in mind. Okay? So how do we factor when we have something like this? And so here's what we need to understand. We need to figure out what is going to make this 0 to make this true, because we want this and this to multiply to equal 0. Okay, so we need to find out what number would make this 0. Okay, so we're going to have one answer for that. We also need to find out what would make this 0, because on that prior examples, my 0 could be here or my 0 could be here. It could be in either place. So I need to know the 0 that this is and the number that makes this 0. They're going to be different, because 2 times something plus 6, what's this number going to have to be? If I'm going to add it to 6, what's this number going to have to be? Negative 6. So I can kind of figure this out in my head. This is going to be negative 3, but I'm going to show you how to do that algebraically, because it's important, because when we get big long ones, we're going to need to know how to do it. So let's practice on the easy ones. And then, let's see, this is negative 15, so this is going to have to end up being 15, so 3 times 5 is negative 15. But let's prove that algebraically. Okay, so my guess is this answer is going to be negative 3, and this answer is going to be 5. Those are different, right? So that's important. It's important that we find both answers and that we figure out how to do this. So the key is you're going to take this chunk and you're going to set it equal to 0. And this chunk is already set equal to 0. And we're going to solve both of those algebraically. Right? So to get rid of my 6, I'm going to subtract 6 from both sides. I'm going to get negative 6 equals 2d. And then I'm going to divide that by 2 on both sides of my equal sign. And I'm going to get d equals negative 3. Cool, I was right. Okay, so d equals negative 3. That's one of my answers. I'm going to have 2 answers here. And you're always going to want to have 2 answers. So that's one answer. Okay, so now let's solve this. What do we have to move first? Our 3 or our negative 15? Our negative 15. We have to add 15 to both sides of the equal sign to solve for d. We're getting d by itself. Okay, that's a 0, so then I've got 3d equals 15. We divide both by 3. That'll cancel. My d is equal to 5. That is my other answer. Now, you're going to want to just really quickly throw that in there. 3 times 5 is 15. 15 minus 15 is 0. Good, that works. 2 times negative 3 is negative 6. Negative 6 plus 6 is 0. Great, it works. Check your answer to make sure both of these answers are the right signs and the right numbers. Okay? Now, this number 1 was equal to 0. But this one's not equal to 0, so why would it be in this part of our lesson? Well, because we can make it equal to 0, right? We can move this over to this side, or this over to this side, but we're going to move this over to this side because we like to have our 0 in the back. And we're going to do that by subtracting 3c from both sides of my equal sign. Can I combine these? Are they like terms? No. So I get c squared minus 3c equals 0. Now here's where yesterday's lesson comes in handy. I've got two things here that I could box up, and I've got a like term in here. So I'm going to box this up, and I'm going to factor out what I cannot factor out, because I don't have any polynomials being multiplied together. Here is my result of that. And so I need to figure out what's being multiplied. So my common number, oops, is c. I can take a c out of both of these, okay? If I divide this by c, I'm going to get c minus 3. So my binomial and monomial multiplication is this. And so this is my problem. I had to do all of this work to find out what my two things were that were being multiplied to be able to solve this. Okay. So, remember, what did we do over here? We separated these in two. I'm going to do that with a different color this time. So we separated that into two, and we made this an equal to 0, and that equals to 0. Okay? So if I do that and I solve it, c equals 0. Oh, that's already done. Okay, so now I just need to add 3 to this, both sides, and I get c equals 3. Okay, and I have c equals 0. So my two answers are c equals 0 and c equals 3. Now remember, I had to do some math to get it into this form where I could factor it to be able to find my solutions. Okay, so sometimes we'll be given the form of the two things being multiplied together. Sometimes we'll have to get to there. And so there's some thinking involved in this lesson. You've got to pay attention to details, and you've got to follow your notes, use your notes on your work so that you know what's happening. Okay, number three says this. Do I need to do any factoring for number 3? Nope. I can just separate that in half and find both answers. I'm going to have you do that for notes, okay? Do I have to do any factoring for this one, for number 4? I do. And so I'll do this one with you. What am I going to take out of there? What am I going to take out of there? Let's see, my common number, largest number is 8. I can divide both those by 8. And my smallest exponent of my variable is 1, so it's 8b. Okay? 8 divided by 8 is 1. Don't need that. B squared divided by b is going to be b. 8 divided by negative 40 is going to give me negative 5. B's are going to cancel. That's where I'm at. So I've got 8b times b minus 5 equals 0. So now I need to find what is the number that would make this 0. That's my first answer. What is the number that would make this 0? That's my second answer. And so I set this equal to 0. It's an ugly color. I don't want to use that color. I separate those two things. I find both answers, and I'm good to go. Okay, let's see here. You know what? I think I'm gonna have you finish this one. I just started. I'm gonna have you finish this one for notes. So what's this b going to be equal to? What's this b going to be equal to? And then, so you've got 2 to do for notes. Do you need to factor this one? Hoping you said yes. Box that up. You're going to pull out an X. Is that it? Is there a number? Just a 1, right? Okay, so then you're going to get X here and negative 10 here. So I've got X times X minus 10 equals 0. Could you find both your solutions here, please? And then I'm going to have you do this whole one on your own. So you need to factor it first. Get your 2 things that are being multiplied together. Set each of those equal to 0 and solve for 0. Okay? Do write down any questions. Do come with all of those finished. So you're finishing 3, finishing 4, doing 5, doing 6. Okay? Use your notes from above and take your time. Look at patterns and think about what you're doing. Just don't blindly do things. Think about what you're doing. God bless.